Welcome to our first panel of the day. My name is Zach Winthy. I am the Director of Customer Marketing and Thought Leadership here at Treasure Data, and I have an exciting panel. I'm not going to do justice to introducing them, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves and give you a little bit of background on their roles. So, Luis, I want to start with you.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we have some of the best minds in the business here in this room today. So, my name is Luis Gama, and I'm a Senior Martech Manager at ABI. I think a lot of you guys know our brands and products, so pleasure to be here and share a little bit of thoughts.
Good morning, CDP World. My name's Ian Kurd. I'm the Global Business Lead Data Foundations at Diageo. I'm also really excited to have some of the members from our team in Latin America as well, hello guys, with me today, and really excited to be at the event.
Hello, CDP World. Hope you guys had a fun time in Vegas, but I'm Gautam Sunkara. I lead the consumer marketing tech platforms, direct-to-consumer and three-tier e-commerce at Constellation brands. A few of our colleagues are here. Excited to go through the CDP World journey with everyone.
All right. So I want to start. Obviously, you guys have very complex businesses just by kind of sheer nature. And you overlap both data, marketing. So let's talk a little bit about how are your organizations structured? How do you guys kind of manage that messy middle of the blending of marketing and data as a function? Luis, we'll go down the line on this one.
Well, I think it always started with a lot of education, right, first. And for us, that we started the data programming between 18 and 19, it started as a compliance thing, you know, because in the past, the data used to be everywhere. You know, you have data within partners, you have data within agencies, within people inside the company. And I can tell that because I was working in an agency before joining ABI, and our customer database was an Excel file in my personal computer. So it was crazy. And so it always started within compliance thing, you know, and then a lot of education. So we spend a lot of time talking to the countries. Today we have more than 40 countries onboarded on the CDP. So we started talking with them and say, hey, you already heard about the CDP. You already understood why this is so important for our business and why this movement that we are doing is critical. And of course, then became value for marketing and other activities. But I would say it started as compliance and education first.
Yeah, so I joined Diageo 2 years ago, actually at an exciting time as part of the global digital team. We were part of a pendulum shift to form more direct relationships with the consumers of Diageo brands. So an exciting challenge. But in Diageo, it's a global business with a lot of complexity. We have 200 brands in approximately 180 different markets as well. So in the beginning, what was really important for us was having a data strategy that ladders up to our corporate strategy as well. Those things need to be tied at the hip. And then we build some clarity from that by distilling that down into data-driven use cases that ladder up to business impact. But we also have to build or fly the plane, you know, we have to build the plane whilst flying. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that expression. So in the last 2 years, we've also been building out capabilities and enablers. So we brought Treasure Data on board as a core part of our connected consumer data strategy about 1.5 years ago. So we're building capabilities. And therein lies the challenge, effectively. We have global teams, we have local teams, we have global brand teams, we have local brand teams. We have the business side and the technology side. So there's a huge amount of complexity to manage there. But I think one of the key things that we need to have in place first is a really clear directional strategy that says, this is why we're using data and this is the relationship we want to have with our consumer.
Yeah, just all of great points, right? Just to add one more thing. We started this journey 2-3 years ago, right? We are relatively newer than what you guys started. But one of the first things we started looking at was the messy middle, right? So it is really messy middle. So we wanted to build a team that is product-centric approach, right? So folks from the business teams, folks from the technology teams kind of like came together to build a product team, right? And there's also cross-training, right? That way, the technology people are not just talking tech terms or jargons, right? And the business team is just talking the business. We emphasized on cross-training. That way, the tech teams know what the business problems are and how you approach those problems, right? And the other way, the business teams also understand and emphasize the technologies because it's MarTech. There's a reason why you call it as MarTech, right? From there, we started with the business problems. Like, what are your problems? What are you trying to solve? And from there, we started looking at solutions on what technologies can bring in to solve those problems. And there's always measurements and how do you measure and how do you know you solve the problem, right? So those are all the things that we kind of like took 3 years ago. And the other big thing is agile marketing, right? We wanted to make sure we fail fast. Not that I'm saying we're going to fail, right? But you want to learn, right? You want to learn from your mistakes. And also provide that incremental value. That's the other approach that we took. And we also have great support from leadership or partners. And treasury data has been a huge part in this journey for us as well.
Great. So Ian, you said complexity multiple times, and obviously all three of you as you know, beverage brands have regulated industry, a complex business model, global, and just the sheer volume of brands. How are you kind of managing that complexity within the individual brands and even within the individual countries?
Yeah, so I think that simple triangle that I was talking about before, which is starting with what are the big business bets that are laddering up to the corporate strategy of Diageo. And we can apply that framework in each market. And indeed, that's how we work with them when rolling out a data strategy, is to say, okay, with your local market conditions, you know, what are the 6 big bets that you're trying to achieve this year? So even before we talk about technology, we talk about what is it we're trying to do. And then we start to break that down is what is the data that we need to ladder up to those big, you know, big bets? And then also what technology do we need as well? So I think one of the dangers that I've seen a lot in the past, and I've been on the vendor side through the DMP era, working with corporate clients, and now I'm on the inside of large brands as well, is thinking too much technology first. I mean, there's so much hype out there at the moment about, well, I'm going to curse myself for saying this, but Gen I, LLMs, like everyone's talking about it at the moment. But running too fast without actually having the foundations in place, understanding why we want to use these things in the first place. It's not to say that all these tools are not great, and they are. They're wonderful. There's a lot of really interesting stuff happening. But I'm really fond of the saying, if you're trying to eat an elephant, take one bite at a time, because you need to do things in a really steady and progressive way. Not race ahead too much, and not focus on the technology. Focus on what you're trying to do, and focus on the experiences that you're trying to create for your consumers as well.
Luis, anything?
And something that it's interesting as well is, even though we have multiple countries, hundreds of brands, I think, for all of us, the way that the business is structured is kind of similar across the countries. Of course, you have specificities here and there, but and something that was very important was to build the system following the way that the business is structured. You know, you don't do the opposite. You don't try to accommodate your business into a technology, but you have to accommodate the technology to the business. So this was also a decision that make things easier in the past. Easier is never a good word talking about technology, but this helped us to reach the global scale kind of fast, you know.
And Gautam, you've been on kind of the same journey. What's maybe changed from where you started when you're thinking about complexity and managing that? And as you started to working the brands, what have you learned along the way?
One of the most important things, right, is if you actually look at our portfolio as Constellation brands, we are a house of brands, right? That means not every brand is at the same level. What I meant is the maturity curve, right? Some brands are ahead, some brands are behind, some brands, you know, they're willing to take the leap in trying new things. Some are risk averse, right? So that's the most important thing, trying to understand where each brand marketing teams are, trying to understand what their business goals are, right? And what are the problems that they're trying to solve, and go after them, right? And then one of the other important things is test, learn, adopt. Success breeds success, right? So that means we go, it's just like a service, right? We go to a brand, hey, we understand these are your business problems, right? And this is how we can help, right? Try to make sure they understand that. And then you run small pilots, make sure they're comfortable, make sure we are tracking the ROI, and take those use cases, and then go to the next brand, then next brand. And it's like this is the NFL season, right? It's 10 yards at a time. You get the first down, you get 4 chances, then you go to the next turn, right? That has been the mantra for us to start building our MarTech ecosystem across the brands.
So I'm going to stay with you for a second, because you talk about kind of getting those brands excited, and getting them started. But how do you go beyond kind of those foundational use cases to kind of build some maturity in the more complex kind of scenarios where they can really unlock maybe more value than just the simple stuff? Do you have examples or?
Yeah, no, that's where Treasury Data comes in, right? Treasury Data has helped us unlock a lot of use cases, right? Because prior to Treasury Data, all of our data was everywhere. We have no visibility into what the customer lifetime value or journey or any of the insights or analytics, right? But as we started onboarding Treasury Data into the brands as well, we're able to run through predictive analytics and churn rates, right? And then start getting into a little bit more additional use cases than the basic ones of email marketing or SMS marketing, right? This opened up the journey, and not to forget making sure we are in compliance with the CCPA, the GDPRs, just making sure the legal teams are not after you or anybody else in this world that are after you, right? So that is not an understatement on that as well. And then from there, you start from the basics, right? And then that's when you start building on top of it to go for complex use cases, like personalization, right? That's also a huge thing. The consumer trends are changing, and we wanted to keep it up with them, right? And if you get, like we were talking about yesterday, 100 emails from a brand where you don't care or you don't understand what the customer needs, then it just goes to trash or spam. So that's another huge use cases that we're looking at as well.
Either of you have other stories or examples of how you've kind of taken a brand from point A to now C, D, E, and all the way to Z?
Well, I would say we're really still quite at the foundational stage. So I think a lot of the work that we've done in year 1, and we're just coming out of year 1 with Treasure Data, has been in getting data into the system as well, and now looking and interrogating the data that we have to inform some of those use cases as well. So I think it's probably not uncommon, like that we were doing a lot of stuff based on D2C environments and channels in the beginning, and particularly via the combination of Treasure Data and Salesforce Marketing Cloud as well. But media is actually a huge part of our business, as is a thing called connections planning as well. So we're really looking forward to layering more the kind of omni-channel journeys that we know that Treasure Data are making possible. We haven't got a whole bunch of them live, but we're definitely heading in that direction in the next 6 to 12 months. Yeah.
And something that is very interesting, especially for CPGs like us, is when you have a tool in the middle that you can unify all the data that you are collecting from people, you can understand the consumer journey across your organization, So what is the kind of products that they like? They are shifting tastes, they are growing or not in the journey, So this is something that is very powerful for multi-brand companies like us, Especially now that D2C became a big thing, especially after the pandemic, right? That changed completely the way that the consumers interact within products, within beer, beverages, and et cetera.
So sticking with you for a moment, in a lot of countries, you guys don't own the final kind of the last mile. You can't sell directly to the consumer. You're through a distributor, and then other parts of the country you can. How how are you thinking about use cases when it comes to either influencing a time to buy versus owning that direct to consumer? What are some of your strategies? And I know you guys have some unique use cases outside the US, so kind of curious.
Exactly. Out of US, we are investing a lot in D2C, so direct-to-consumer channels, so people can buy beer directly from the company through an app, and we can deliver it very fast, 10 minutes cold at market price. But as you said, we don't have D2C in all the countries, so for the ones that they are not D2C, it's more about consumer understanding, so how you can drive the business of your brands by understanding the consumer that you have, especially the thing that I mentioned about the journey. And something that we always say at ABI as well is that CDP is not a database. CDP is a platform that can drive to you human understanding. So it's about people. It's not about hundreds of lines and databases, integrations. No, it's about people. You are building a tool that will help you to know better the people that interact with your business, you know.
Both of you guys were shaking your head, nodding along. So any other?
No, I think increasingly for us, we're also focused on the partnership. So what we call the customer in Diageo is largely distribution partners, so large retail chains as well. So looking for opportunities to collaborate from a data perspective with them to close that gap in our view of the consumer is increasingly important. And the other thing is the connected experience across Diageo brands. So in the Diageo world, we have a number of really large and flagship brand homes. So for example, many people will be familiar with the Guinness Storehouse in Dublin. It attracts 1.7 million visitors a year. We also have a Johnny Walker Whiskey Experience Centre on 7 floors in Edinburgh as well. So all of the people, and we have a global travel arm as well that is working. So previously, these parts of the business have been kind of disconnected and siloed. And what we're trying to do increasingly is connect experiences across them, because our consumers are actually connecting their own experiences across these journeys as well.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about it as you were mentioning the question, right? Because we are all in a regulated industry, right? And we can't use a lot of the traditional channels because Google is off limits. You can't use any of the first-party data sets with Google, right? Or we can't use TikTok because it can't verify the person is 21 plus, so that's off the limits. So there's so many regulations that we have to go about, and that takes up a lot of the use cases, or even the platforms, right? The retail media partners, and all of that was taken out too because of the titles loss. But there are other venues and channels, right? It's like we do event marketing, we try to do influencer marketing, and then you do like campaigns where, you know, hey, with the NFL or college football or UFC, other partnerships that can help bring, basically build the brand awareness and then drive some of the sales up.
With so many brands, do you find yourselves taking ideas to the brands, or do you feel the brands are coming with you to use cases and saying, hey, we want to do this, or we can't do this today, and that's driving your innovation? Which way is it going? Is it kind of a push, or is it a pull? And you're smiling, Gotham, so I'll go with you.
I wish all the brands are coming to us, right? That's the ideal world. But reality is different. We are like salespeople, right? Like just how Treasure Data came us for, hey, this is the platform that you could use. We do the same thing, right? We pick the brands, right? Just like how you understand their problem statements, and we feel like what are the brands that we can serve best, which can actually result in success. Like I was mentioning, success breeds success. Show success to a brand and help them lead their way, and then you go to the next brand, and you go to the next brand. But traditionally, a lot of the marketing has been done with linear. Right now, the tides are changing. Digital marketing, personalization, and showing that value on how this can help, and also bring bigger ROI, right, or bigger ROAS. That is huge, I guess, because everybody, end of the day, cares about the money, and where do they want to put the dollar, and how much return are they getting? If we show that. That's the game changer for.
So obviously, digital transformation being, you know, kind of part of all three of your charters. How are you keeping the brands focused? Like when you think about the goals, we know AI is exciting, and there's a lot of value, but there's also AI for AI's sake. A lot of people don't know how they want to use it. They just feel like they have to use it, right? So how are you kind of helping set that vision, and maybe a tip for the audience who are kind of going through the same thing? And Ian, I'll start with you because I think this came up in our pre-call. So what's your advice?
So one of the joys I have being in a global team is I get a lot of good suggestions on a weekly day. They pile up every Monday. So have we spoken to this technology yet? We should be doing this. Why aren't we doing that? Like other brands are doing this as well. So it's sometimes hard to quieten the noise, but in the beginning when I said we always go back to these basics. So what are we trying to do? What's the brand actually trying to do, and how does that connect to the wider corporate strategy of Diageo? We start from those basic principles, and then we can start to see if the technology is appropriate. As I was saying before, in my response to one of the previous questions, if we race to the technology, we create problems for ourselves downstream, but we're trying to reinvent the why after we've onboarded the technology. So it's kind of the wrong way around. And look, a good 15 plus years of working in the MarTech sector, I've seen that done time and time and time again. So I just keep hammering the fundamentals, which is let's start with the basics. What are we trying to do? What is the data that we have at our disposal to enable these technologies as well? And then let's choose the technologies that we need to execute on that task as well.
Yep. Anything to add, Luis?
No, and something that I think is also very important is when you have very clear business goals, you need to see the technology as something that can help you reach your goal. The technology cannot change your focus. We are here to sell beverages, So this is the primary focus of the company so far. And how the technology can aggregate on that. This is something that we are always trying to share with our business friends, So do you see ways that this technology can help you or benefit your business to reach your goal faster, better, in a more efficient way? If yes, let's go. If not, or maybe, let's try, let's experiment, but it cannot change completely the focus of your business.
Gotham?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, Luis, right? Because stick to your roadmap, stick to your vision, right? Technology should only be an enabler, not a driver, right? That's the most important thing, because yeah, AI can come in and even your business partners will ask, like, hey, AI is coming, they're doing that, they're doing this. Be cautiously optimistic, right? And then make sure we run, test and learn, adopt, right? That's the most important thing. Pilots, okay, that's awesome. Let's just run a pilot, right? Do you have a business problem? Let's use AI or anything else to try and solve that problem. Don't create use cases for the sake because there's AI, right? That's the most important thing. Don't lose your way with it.
So before I turn this over to the audience and give them a chance to maybe kind of pepper you guys with some questions here, we talked about being human. And you guys are all very smart, and you guys are all very professional, but you have a human side. So my favorite kind of wrap-up is a personal question. What is a podcast, YouTube channel, something you enjoy that has nothing to do with work?
Oh, my God. You don't ever touch my motorcycle YouTube channels. I'm crazy about motorcycle YouTube channels, So probably if you delete the internet today, just let me know so I can download some videos and I can be watching motorcycle videos all the day.
All right, Ian?
Yeah, for me, I'm an old hip-hop head, so I've been listening to hip-hop for 400,000 years, and there's a channel on YouTube called Vlad TV where this guy interviews a lot of the great rappers from the 80s and the 90s who are also 400,000 years old. And it's just really interesting to hear their perspectives about that time when you really thought this music was, I'm going to say revolutionary. It was really a change in kind of culture that came about. So yeah, if you took Vlad TV away from me, you'd get a pretty curt response.
Did you know Wu-Tang Clan was here Saturday at MGM Grand?
Ah, man.
I should have come early. All right.
You have a microphone in the hand. Give a taste to us. Come on.
He's extending his trip, I'm sure. This is something my wife started hooking me into. It's sustainable living. That is something that has taken my time, but I'm not working or other things, right? It's like just into, okay, we need to make sure the next generation is coming along, and we need to make sure we preserve, right, sustainable farming or sustainable ways of living. Anything that's YouTube or podcast, that's where we have been focusing on. And lately, she started getting to, oh, we should do farming, sustainable farming. Okay, I know my grandparents were farmers, but I never did anything remote to farming. So, like, okay, what do we do? What are the steps? And that has been taking the time outside of work for me.
Very cool. All right, so we've got these fun little blue cubes here. And we're going to turn this over to the audience, let you guys ask some questions. They're soft. You can throw them around. I'm not going to throw them. I'm going to give them to the staff here and let them throw them to you. But if you have a question, raise your hand. Just hold them in your, just hold it and talk into it. You don't have to turn it on or anything. So there's one. Woo, that worked.
Okay.
And I didn't break anything.
Ready?
Whoa, this is actually really cool.
And it works.
Yeah, that's also awesome. Like no messing with microphones. So hey, I wanted to ask you guys. One of the things is obviously you set up CDPs across your organizations. How do you like when your leadership comes to you and asks you like for driving the business value? How do you show that? Like in terms of like it's usually like how do you tie it to initiatives and then towards the end of the year like when you're like okay like what value did your CDP add? How do you guys do that? I'd love to hear your perspectives on that.
You should talk to Jason Doreen, by the way. I'm just kidding. No, that's what we did too, right? The first thing was when we started this CDP journey, we were like hyper-focused on consolidating the data. Let's just build the customers and everything else. Then my boss came to me and was like, okay, that's great, man, but how are you showing the value? So our biggest thing was finding use cases, right, and measurement. That's the most important thing. So we reached out to a brand, and it's like, can we use first-party data and then show them how it is actually helping them bring better ROAS versus how they were doing things prior to CDP existence. That has been huge for us, at least, right? Use cases and measurement has been the mantra for us.
Yeah, and you have the obvious piece, let's say, which is media KPIs, media efficiency. So having first-party data as a seed to look-alike audiences is very powerful, for example. But there are other use cases that you can explore as well. For example, we use the CDP in the past to release new flavor of products by doing research with people, understanding their needs and their wants, and releasing new products. So you can go in a very KPI-oriented, focused use cases or very experimentation kind of stuff, you know.
I love this topic because it's such a challenging one to answer. I think when we underwent a number of digital transformation initiatives 2 years ago, almost instantly I was asked kind of, all right, so how much money are we paying back over the next 5 years? And that's quite tough when you don't know exactly which data is coming in and where it's going out as well. So we try to do it bit by bit. And like Luis was saying, I think some of the fundamentals is Diageo has huge media billing, so being able to show efficiency in the media channel is a really an obvious win for us. Driving revenue in the D2C environment, which has really grown quite strongly since COVID for our business, like with a lot of others as well. But I also kind of look at other kind of not completely revenue-based value kind of metrics, but things like imagine in an organization like ours before how difficult it would have been to get together transactional data from our brand home, website data, data from our consumer database, and a whole host of other partnership data into the system as well. It would have taken so much time and cost so much money as well. So we're actually building efficiencies that way to the business too. And you know, these are some of the basic tenets that I start with as well.
Thank you for that. And as an organization, do you guys use OKRs or anything like that particularly to track like measurement against those goals or?
Yeah, look, we have a range of metrics. Like I'm probably not going to go into too much detail about them now, but some of them ladder up to kind of 4 key value dimensions, which are driven by kind of things like revenue, media efficiency, and some other things as well. So we're tying them to a number of, I guess, high-level business metrics. As I said, it's always tied to kind of, what we're doing with the business, but also some kind of discipline-based metrics as well for CRM, for media, and some other ones as well. Yeah.
All right. Any last parting thoughts or advice or tips as we wrap up here?
I think a good advice is, and this is something that we are changing mindsets in the company, is don't get all of the data in the world. You don't need all of the data in the world, because in the very beginning of the program, we were like an army of people. You have data, give to me. You have data, give to me. So, no, think about, again, your business needs to drive it. So what is the data that you really need to transform your business and understand better your clients?
I don't think we could have ended better than that, and I think they're flashing the lights at us, so we are done. These guys are going to be around all day, so if you have questions or if you have some other thoughts that you want to share with them, feel free, but thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, bye.